Today, I want to show you how you can set up remote push notifications inside of your WeWeb mobile application using the Despia plugin and OneSignal. It's super simple, so let's get right started with it. First of all, you want to create a OneSignal account like I have inside of here. And we need to create a new app/website. So let's click on here. And now we're just going to give our app a name. I'm just going to call this My App. And then organization name, I'm just going to put my organization name inside of here. So let's start with our first channel. We're just going to start with iOS, but you can also start with Android. Now, the nice thing is Despia uses the native integrations for push notifications. So you're not setting up web push, you're actually setting up iOS and Android. So let's go on Apple iOS to start with, and let's configure that platform. Now we need to get our P8 file. So we got to go to Apple Developer, and we're going to go to keys down here, and then we're going to create a new key. And that key is going to be Despia My App Push. Look at that, perfect. So I know that this is the key for this OneSignal project, and we are going to check Apple push notification services. Perfect. So now we got that set up, and we probably want to configure this, and I'm just going to make this production. We're going to save, and now we can go on continue and register. And now it wants us to download that key. So let's download the key and make sure that you keep this key secure, because you can only download it once, right? I just exposed my key right here, thanks to the Dia browser, because they love opening all kinds of files all the time. But I'll change it. So now we go on OneSignal, and we're just going to upload that file. So I'm just going to drag this right inside of here. And there you go, it has been uploaded. Now we need to get the key ID, which we get right inside of here from Apple. And we're going to put the key ID inside of here. Now we need the team ID. The team ID here is in the top right corner. We're just going to copy that. And then I'm going to put the team ID right inside of here. And now we need the bundle ID for our mobile app. If you go on Publish App inside of the Despia editor, you will be able to copy the bundle ID inside of here. And you can just paste it right here. Perfect. Let's save and continue. And it's now connecting with your Apple account, so you can send Apple push notifications. And now we're actually selecting native iOS because Despia compiles it down to a real native iOS using Swift. So let's do native iOS and let's save and continue. Perfect. Now we get our OneSignal App ID. We're going to copy that App ID. We're going to go back into Despia. We're going to paste it in here on our iOS application ID. Fantastic. And now here's what we're going to do. We're going to go back to OneSignal, and we're going to go on Done. Perfect. Now we can set up the other stuff. So let's go on Manage App here. No, my bad. Let's go on Settings again. And we should be able to go on Push and In-App. And then this gives us this platform section here where we can just activate Google Android. And in order to activate Google Android, we need to get our Firebase our Google Firebase service account. And we can get that from the Google Cloud Console. So you do need to already have a Google account that is registered with Firebase. So we're just going to go to the Firebase console, and we're going to create a new Firebase project. I'm just going to call that My App Despia, and I'm going to continue with that. Okay, and we're just going to continue. And then I'm just selecting my default account for Firebase. You can select another one if that's something that's important to you. And then it will take a little bit to configure that Firebase project for you. It's super simple setting this up. And then we'll also have some examples on how you can use the OneSignal API to target specific devices. So now we should be done in a second. Okay, and let's continue. Perfect. So now this will open the project. And now we'll be able to go on the settings here, and we'll be able to go to project settings. And now, as you can see, if we go to cloud messaging inside of here, you will see that Firebase Cloud Messaging API version 1 is enabled. You want to make sure that that is enabled. You can you can adjust that. If you don't see it enabled, just make sure it is enabled. There should be a button to enable it. And then we can now go on service accounts. And now it'll load a little bit, and we will need to register a service account. So I'm going to do Firebase admin SDK, and we're just going to click on generate new private key. We're going to generate the key. Also make sure to store that. It is as important as the Apple one. And now we're going to go back to OneSignal. We're going to open the file uploader, and we're going to put it right inside of here. Perfect. Okay, now let's save and continue. And we're going to do native Android because Despia uses native Swift and Kotlin. So let's save and continue. Perfect. And now we get the app ID. We're going to go back to Despia, and we're going to paste the app ID right inside of here, which you see they both have the same app ID, but in some cases they are different. So we just have it set up like that. Perfect. And now we go on done. So now our projects are successfully set up with OneSignal, and we have it added inside of Despia. And this Despia project, as you can see, is already linked to our WeWeb application. So now let's go to WeWeb and let's do a few steps if you haven't already. Now we need to make sure that our WeWeb project is published, right? And then we got to copy the URL, and we got to go back into Despia, and we need to paste it here as the app start URL. And you can also add the appropriate path of the page that you want your application to start. Now that this is inside of here, those are linked. And the last thing that you want to do inside of a WeWeb is making sure that you have the plugin installed, which I already have. But in case you do not have it installed, you want to go to Assets, you want to go to Library inside of WeWeb, you want to click on this little book symbol, go to the Marketplace, look for Despia, and you will see I have it already added, the Despia plugin. If you don't have it added yet, just click on Add, and then you see it's already available in here. If there is a button saying Update, always make sure to update it. And there you go. I have it installed. Now it needs to be added to the page, to every page essentially, that I want to have native functionality. So I click on Add, and I go to Assets, and I'm just going to drag it on top of the page because this will give me access to the OneSignal player ID, so I can use it to identify the players in my database. So now with that being said, I'm just going to set up something very nice. I'm just going to go back into WeWeb, and I'm going to add an input element inside of here. And let's this all the way up here. And this input element will be bound. So let's go to initial value, and I go on variables here, and you see I'm now getting all those variables from the Despia component, and I'm getting the OneSignal player ID, and I'm just dragging this inside of here, right? So we can take this, and I can show you how you can send push notifications from your server to specific mobile devices. So let's deploy this inside of WeWeb. And the nice thing is, because WeWeb works with Despia together over the air, when I'm doing this update, this is automatically updating your application. The only time you need to rebuild your Despia mobile application is if you change anything inside of the Despia editor, like you change the start URL, or you change the name or the icon, or like we just did, the OneSignal application ID, right? And then once you have that set up, you want to rebuild it in Despia. But you don't have to do any update if you change anything in WeWeb, because that goes over the air. So now we have it successfully updated inside of WeWeb. So because we changed some things in the Despia editor, I'm just going to click on Publish App, and I'm going to rebuild it for Apple iOS and for Google Android. So I'm going to publish those changes for iOS. Once those are done, I can publish the changes for Android. And how push notifications work are the same on Android like they are with iOS. You see, we already have Android integrated, so we can just test this in this video right now on iOS, because it will work. If it works on iOS, it will work on Android as well. It's the same principle, it uses the same SDK. Right? So now it's building, so we're going to make a little cut because that can take up to 20 minutes sometimes, and we'll see you in a second. So as you can see, the build was successful. So we just go into test flight, make sure that the app is updated, which I already have. So let's open the application here. And as you can see, we'll be able to get the OneSignal player ID. So let's go inside of here. And let's make sure that we can copy that player ID, because this will be very great and important for testing to see if we can send targeted push notifications to specific devices using the OneSignal API. So first of all, we want to go to our documentation that we have at docs.despia.com and get the example starter curl command for our backend to set up the OneSignal REST API. So let's copy that. As an example, I'm going to use Xano to set this up. Now, you can use any backend. You can use N8N, you can use Zapier, you can use Supabase, you can use whatever you want. In this example, I'm just going to use Xano because most WeWeb users are Xano users. So let's add an external API inside of here. Let's import the curl. And we're going to just click on import. And now we need to get the app ID. So the app ID is what you have entered right inside of here, right? So let's copy that. Should be both the same for iOS and Android. If you don't have them the same, you got to also, kind of like do it on the back end where you have different app IDs. So it just gets simpler if you have both the same by just putting them in one OneSignal project. And we're going to go back to the API. I'm going to paste this right inside of here. And then you see the included player IDs. So we need to remove that. And this is where it gets important. We want to copy this player ID here, ED7BC, and we'll paste this inside of here, right? So this will now target the device. As you can see, the plugin that we have added is now injecting this player ID inside of this text area so we can see it. And then what you want to do usually, every time the user logs into your mobile application, to your login request, you're just going to add a new parameter that's like player ID. So every time they log into the application or they create an account, you're already linking the player ID with their account. Make sure that that one account can have multiple player IDs. So you probably want to set them up as a table reference, like as a linking table or a list of table references. Something to look into. Also keep in mind that sometimes a player ID may switch across devices. So if I'm logging out of my account in my mobile application and logging in with a different account, you need to then go to the login request, take the player ID, and if the player ID is already linked with another account, you need to remove it from the other account and then link that with the new account. So they're getting only the push notifications for the account that they're linked to. And that logic is rather simple to implement based on the backend that you're using, right? So we're just only going to target this example here. And then we just do hello. This is a test notification from Despia. Now we need our API key. So let's remove this. And we can go to OneSignal, and we can go to settings, and we can go to keys and IDs, and we can add a new API key here for our backend. And let's create one. Okay, and now we can copy the API key. So let's go inside of here, paste that right inside of here, and apply. And now we can save, and now we can run push notification. Let's take a look at that. So let's see what it says. It sent the push notification successfully. So let's take a look at the screencast here. And yes, as you can see, I am getting the push notifications. So let's see if I can run a few more, and let's look at the screen again. So we have the push notifications, and you're seeing how I am receiving all of those push notifications now. Look at that. Beautiful. And I can send more push notifications from my backend to this specific player ID. And as you can see, I'm getting even more push notifications sent to my device right inside of here. And that is how you can set up remote push notifications using Despia and OneSignal for your WeWeb mobile application. So you can do exciting stuff that a PWA usually cannot do, especially targeting specific devices. That is incredibly easy because you can just go into WeWeb, you can go to your login form, and you can just access this variable, OneSignal player ID, add that to your request, and then you automatically have the player ID that's linked to the account that's logged in. And then when you have a notification for the account, you query the account ID to get all the related player IDs. You do a loop over that, or you take that list, put that into the request that you can do in OneSignal, that will be this part here, right? This array here. And then you just send a push notification to their iPad, to their iPhone, to their Apple Watch, wherever you want to send that. And that's how simple it is to set this up without having to do any custom code. You can set this native functionality up right inside of WeWeb. I can't wait to see you in the next video, and I can't wait to see all the exciting push notification powered applications that you're going to ship with WeWeb to the App Store and Google Play Store. Take care. Bye.